Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you for
Nice to
doing
meet
this.
nice to meet you as well. Of course, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you on the site. I think our readers are really going to love what you have to say. And so I'm excited to talk to you today.
Oh, well, I love your title and everything that you are, everything you stand for. I was like, no, I fully can relate, connect, and yeah,
I'm
it's
glad you get it.
conversation. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw or I'm not sure how much you know about me, but I have two little kids. I have a super busy working husband and just juggling.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I totally understand that. I think that's kind of what it's all about, right? Because life is messy and that's what we like to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well, let's have some real conversation.
Let's
Sure.
let's
Well,
dive in. I'm
yeah.
excited.
Yeah. Oh, and
So,
how long do you want to do the interview for?
well, Ray let me know you had about 45 minutes. I think that should
Yeah.
be,
Does that work?
yeah, that's plenty of time.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so well, I know obviously if you want to give our readers a little bit of a bio on yourself, like a little bit of your background, and
Sure.
we're going to talk about the book and we're going to talk about Arrive at Happy. So if you want to kind of explain how that all started, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, tell me about yourself.
Okay. Perfect. So I grew up in northern British Columbia, Canada. So picture halfway between Seattle and Alaska, middle of nowhere. My parents worked in the ski industry. And thankfully, though, my mom is American and I have dual citizenship. So around the age of 20 or so, I decided to leave freezing Canada and I moved to Honolulu, Hawaii, which was an incredible
Big
experience.
difference.
Huge difference from minus 35 Celsius to, yeah, 80 degrees every day. And I had like everyone else, really, some really great childhood experiences and then also some really challenging ones. And I learned a lot about happiness and about choosing happiness from a pretty young age, going through, my parents' separation and divorce and everything like that. And so after university, I actually had a career in the hotel industry. So for 14 years, I led sales and marketing teams in very cool hotels and resorts in the Hawaiian Islands. I was in New York City. I lived in Istanbul, Turkey, and then I was in Los Angeles as well. And um, I when I went back to work after having my second daughter, so I had a 2-year-old little girl and then like a 4-month little girl, and I'm back at work, attempting to juggle, my career and managing the sales team and my health and wellness and my mental health and my marriage and friendships and all of it. I was really unhappy. And I'm a pretty positive, optimistic person on the whole. I've made big decisions to be happy throughout my life. And this wasn't the first time I was unhappy, but it was the first time that I thought maybe I'm not going to be that happy person anymore. Maybe this is my new normal, which terrified me. And at that point, I started working with a coach and I started researching happiness as well as thinking about, if I were to create a happiness company, what would it look like? How would I make money? What could I do? Because I'd always sort of had this idea of a happiness company. And so for the last 5 years, I have been devouring and researching and getting different certifications in the science of happiness and neuroscience. And I'm a certified chief happiness officer for happiness at work. And so I ended up obviously leaving my hotel career. I work with a lot of hotel companies now, but I left sort of being on property and having more flexibility. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about Arrive at Happy, but that's there's a lot more, but that's kind of how I got here.
That really resonates with me because I've always considered myself to be a very happy person. I'm naturally kind of a positive person, which I think lends itself to being happier. Obviously, if you're an optimist and,
Yeah, partly genetic.
yeah. And I also I'm an even tempered person. I'm not easily ruffled. But I remember, many years ago, I went through a divorce and it was not a mutual decision. I was very unhappy and I was expressing that unhappiness. And the response that I got from my partner at the time was, well, you're just not a happy person. So it's not, and in other words, it's not our dynamic and it's not the other person's behavior. You're just not a happy person. So this expectation of being happy is just unreasonable. And I remember that moment so much because I really had to kind of take a step back and look at myself and say, wait, am I a happy person? Am I just, you know, unhappy and meant to be unhappy forever? And obviously we divorced. So I made some major life changes. I made a huge career change. I made a relationship change. I became a single mom, all of that. But it turned out that I thrived. I was so much happier. I should have listened to my gut is what I'm saying. So that very much resonates with me because that is scary when you look at, at the time I was 27 and I was looking, oh my gosh, I've got 65 plus years left of my life. Is this the normal, right? Is this unhappiness like a normal state I can expect?
Do I settle? Right? What I'm hearing is like, do I settle or do I? Yeah.
Right. Yes, exactly. Because I had a lot of pressure from external sources that, it's not bad enough for you to leave or whatever.
Not bad enough. Ooh, that's powerful.
Yeah. So don't subject your kids to a broken home. It's not bad enough for that. But it's not what for me, it wasn't good enough to stay. And that's like such an isolated incident. But then, when I really thought about like I know, I'm sorry, we're off topic now, but
no, this is all about it. Not at all. We are on topic.
When I looked at my kids who were so young at the time and thought to myself, like, I want to model healthy relationships for them. And I want them to have even at least one happy parent. If they can't have two happy parents, two unhappy parents is definitely not the goal.
One happy parent is by far better than two happy parents.
Exactly. But I didn't have a single person in my life who told me I was making the right decision at the time. And it definitely was the right decision because both my ex and I are much happier now. The kids thrived. I mean, we've thrived. It was all wonderful, but it's very hard to take that step. If you're in a point in your life where you're unhappy, whether it's your career or your relationship or your health, to take that big step is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I will say, don't have the expectation that you're going to be happy all the time, right? Life, like in your case, there's a challenging marriage. In my case, juggling a crazy executive career and two little babies and everything else, those life circumstances were making me unhappy. And, everyone could think about all the different circumstances. My message, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is that life has peaks and valleys. You are going to get pushed down and you're going to fall down. But the goal is don't stay there forever. Don't stay there forever. That make the choice to prioritize your own happiness, take action to benefit yourself. And, in your case, like your kids and all of that. But, inevitably that there's curveballs and that there's challenges for us. And I say this all the time. I say, a happy life is not one void of pain. I got this from Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar. He taught happiness at Harvard University, where everyone has pain. And just because you have pain doesn't mean you can't have a happy life. It actually means you're a human being,
Absolutely. Yeah. I absolutely think that's true. And in my circumstance, I had the ability to make a change like that, but you don't always have the ability to make a change that you'll see immediate results from. Right. It could be like a health issue, or it could be something, or you could be someone's caregiver. That's your circumstance. There are situations like that I've been in, or situations in my life where like I was financially struggling, or I was unhappy with my body and my health. And I would tell myself, when I reach this milestone, then I'll be happy. Instead of taking responsibility for the fact that my happiness was a choice that I could make today. It's when you change that perspective, at least in my experience, it's very life-changing.
No, you're 100% right. And all of the research shows that when we prioritize our well-being, focus, on make choices that increase our happiness and well-being, that we will achieve our goals faster. And not only, goal achievement, of course, is important, but the journey to achieving, what if it is something with your career, if it is something in a relationship, something, because really achieving goals it's a moment in time. Life is really about the Monday through Friday, the moments, it's about the journey. It's not about,
No, it's not these huge, like exciting, fun moments every moment of the day. I mean, life is very mundane.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable, if not thrilled and happy with every moment. You have to be comfortable in the mundane and make joy out of the little things.
Appreciate it. I'm thinking of just like gratitude, right? Of appreciating. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I could completely agree. So you focus, I know, Arrive at Happy is kind of focused on the happiness quotient in leadership, specifically within companies and as managers, leaders of people. So that to me is a really interesting take, because I've never really thought about how the happiness of the leader of a team could impact everyone else on the team. I mean, it makes logical sense, but it was never something. I've worked for bosses who were miserable people. I've worked for bosses who were great and happy. And so it is a different experience, but how do you see that trickling down? How did you get, first of all, how did you get there to that kind of focus? And then how does it impact the group that the person is leading?
So happiness has always been, my happiness has always been extremely, extremely important to me. And I am genetically skewed to be happier probably than a lot of people, but it's also the choices in the way that I've lived my life. So that piece has always just been a huge part of who I am, what I care about. And I'll say like one of my values, I led sales and marketing teams for 14 years. I became a leader at a really young age, 26 years old, thrown into it. And so I always felt that leading other people was an honor and was a huge responsibility. How I showed up for them, how I motivated them, how I took care of them, how I connected with them. That was always my perspective, is I wanted to be a positive force in their work lives. Just like you, along with the different companies and different places I worked at, I had really inspiring, happy, motivational leaders. And I also experienced the polar opposite. And I remember thinking, when I was working for the opposite of a happy leader, I remember thinking, how is this person in such a huge position of influence, yet they treat people so poorly? Like, how I couldn't fathom someone like that having that much influence and negative impact on so many human beings. So that was a really big motivator of, okay, we need less of the unhappy, negative leaders. We need less. And then when I started researching positive psychology and researching neuroscience and researching happiness at work, it was like I knew in my gut and intuition what was right. And then I had all of this research information to support it. So that's really how I got there. And I started off, giving talks and doing workshops, and it sort of built from there. The second part of your question is that when leaders, managers, supervisors, and this could be in a school district, in a company, in a nonprofit, you're in your community, a leader in a family, like I really believe everyone's a leader in a way. So what the research shows is that when a leader is happy, and if they're engaged, and if they are feeling well themselves, the impact is that they themselves are more creative and innovative, and they create a culture where people are more creative and innovative. There's a direct connection between having a positive mind and creativity and innovation. It also directly connects to productivity, It directly connects to sales. This is Sean Aker's research. So when salespeople are happy and positive, they will sell 30% more than someone who's feeling neutral or feeling negative. It prevents unwanted turnover. Everyone's talking about the great resignation. So it keeps teams together, keeps teams loyal, and there's increased teamwork. Happiness directly connects to our physical health. So less sick days and less, just different ailments going on with your body. Optimism connects to longevity. And there's many, many more. So, and when people are happy at work, that translates to customers, and then happy customers help businesses grow, right? So all of this is not only good for humans, but it's good for the business, the bottom line of businesses. And one last thing is that when leaders are happy and when they're positive, there is a ripple effect. And there's research that supports this, that not only do you positively affect your employees, but it actually affects your employees' families. And then the opposite is true. Toxic leadership negatively affects employees, spouses, children, partners. You bring it home with you. So if you think about, an organization with 1,000 people, and you think about the ripple effect of all of those families, it's a huge, I say I call it the happiness imperative. I'm like, it is vital. It is crucial that if you're leading other human beings, you need to be a positive light in their life.
Yeah, I can see how that, it's funny because when I think back on like our, how we imagine the boss figure in how it's portrayed with it, whether it's movies or, is it Mr. Burns from The Simpsons? Like, that's what I have in my head right now. But you always kind of imagine this very stern, very serious, definitely
boss.
Right. My boss, definitely not puppies and rainbows and sunshine. And so I think some people, and I'm just assuming, some people, when they first get into that kind of a role, may feel like that's the persona they need to portray, that they need to be very serious and they need to come down hard and then keep a tight ship, but when I look at the new companies that are coming out, especially women-led companies, and I see a very different culture there, where it's more, it's such a stereotype to say like a family, but they just seem much more engaged with their employees, much more aware of everybody's roles, and more compassionate in everything from pay structure to benefits to just the culture of the company. Work culture, that wasn't even a term not that long ago.
Right.
It was like, you're lucky to have a job, like sit down and do your work.
Be thankful that you're lucky. One of the silver linings of everything that's happened over the last 2 years of the pandemic is that companies and organizations have been forced, some were already ahead, but the ones that weren't have been forced to look at the holistic experience of their employees, right? It's like, oh, they have families. Oh, they have kids. They need to take care of them. Oh, they care about flexibility. Oh, they want time to exercise and meditate. And, so it is, made it a lot faster and quicker. I think we were slowly getting there, but it sort of pushed it to the forefront of, a lot of people are like, I don't necessarily want to work at this place. They treat people bad, or they don't respect my home life, or, so, but yeah, I absolutely agree. You emulate, or whoever, if you had this sort of authoritarian, very serious, not super caring, not really engaged type of boss, you're going to kind of act like that and take it on. But more and more people are realizing that they can be their, authentic self and treat people with kindness and respect and get a lot more out of them.
Yeah, it makes sense that they would. Who wants to do their best work for someone who they don't feel is being respectful towards them, or they have no work-life balance? All of that. And it's really funny. My husband and I were watching television the other night, and we never watch regular television anymore. We always stream everything. I think everybody does.
Yeah.
But we were watching something that had commercials you couldn't fast forward through, you couldn't turn them off. and I haven't seen commercials in so long. And they weren't about products. They were companies advertising how great it is to work there. So Amazon had run a series of commercials talking about how benefits start from day one, and the pay rate, is higher than average, and we pay more in areas where it's more, expensive to live. And we saw commercial after commercial like that, and we both looked at each other and we're like, they're not selling products anymore. They're trying to get people to work there.
People.
It's really crazy. I mean, we've gotten to that point where I feel like the whole hiring interview process is flipped, where instead of saying, why should we hire you? The person comes in and says, why should I work here?
Yeah, no, it is. It's like an employee's market, right? Where there's a lot of opportunity. Yeah.
And I guess it is forcing companies to rethink their culture and actually ask themselves, why would someone want to work here? What are we offering? Everybody's offering, the same salary range. So what are the benefits of working here?
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day where someone was giving tips of questions to ask in job interviews. And one of the questions that they asked was, why is this position available? Are you growing, or did someone leave? And if so, like, why did they leave?
How come they left?
Yeah, it's really interesting to me. I would never have occurred to me to even ask those questions.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, we spend so much time working. So wanting to make sure that it's the right fit, and that how you're not only, the benefits, like you were saying, the pay and vacation and, 401k and all of those, like, yes, but what's the experience for me day in, day out, right? How am I going to feel? Because emotions are what drive our behavior, so when you are feeling excited and joyful and connected and, calm, more than, feeling super stressed out, burnt out, overwhelmed, your behavior is going to be a lot different. So I think that's a fantastic question that everybody should ask.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm sandwiched, right? My generation worked for the same company, 50 years. And thank you for your service. Whether it was the right fit for you, or whether you were following your dreams or the company culture, any of that. And then I have my kids who are in their 20s, who they want to know, what is this company doing for the greater good? Like, how am I benefiting society? How's my work-life balance going to be? And they will turn down higher offers because they don't feel like that company is doing good things for the world. And
I love it. I mean, it's so fantastic that the younger generation is asking that.
Yeah. I mean, my son graduated college with a double degree in marketing and geology, and he was being recruited by oil companies. And he said, no, I can't work for an oil company. My soul won't allow it. And I was thinking, you could work there for 2 years and you'd make like so much money. And I wasn't telling him to do that. It was just interesting to me that he even thought of, that wasn't an option for him for that reason.
Right. Right. I mean, I agree. That's really, really, I mean, I feel aligned on that. That's the same, I haven't never been asked, but for example, if a cigarette company asked me to come work with their leaders, I would decline. I would say, no, I can't support, just out of ethics, and just out of like, I care about kids and people and health. Right. So yeah, one of the popular topics that I teach leaders on is this concept called the progress principle. And it's by these two Harvard researchers. But anyways, what the research shows is that the number one motivator, it makes me think of your son, the number one motivator for people while they're working is progress in meaningful work. They want to feel like they're making progress in work that's purposeful and meaningful, so he felt, no, I don't think the oil company is purposeful and meaningful.
Because that's the thing, right? We hear all the time, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, or follow your dreams or whatever. But we still need someone to, drive a garbage truck. We need someone to fill a prescription. Those are not like really dreams that someone had,
right?
But they're vital to society working, and moving forward.
Yeah. But I will say, like, for the, let's say, like, using your example of let's say a garbage truck, like, driver, and, does that. There could be people who just see it as a job and they're like, oh, this is a paycheck, whatever. I'm not happy, but I'm just doing it. There could be someone else that's like, oh, I see this as a career. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to become the manager, and I'm going to, one day own a garbage, right? That would be like a career. There are people though that see their work, even like an hourly garbage truck driver, that could see it as a calling and could actually have the perspective of, I am keeping our community clean
Absolutely.
and healthy. I am helping my neighbors. But when the kids see the streets clean, they feel more pride, and that could make them, so
Yeah, no, I truly believe that all work is honorable.
yes.
And when you do work for the sake of doing the work properly and in a service to being a
Uh,
good citizen of the world, you naturally progress and you naturally move forward. And that doing work for the sake of the work itself is a beautiful thing to do. And it's something that I think is being embraced now more than maybe ever before. I hope it is.
Yeah. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think, life, as we know, of course, is short, unfortunately, way shorter than we probably would all like. I mean, I know I'd like to live to 500 years if I could, healthily, but if you're listening and you're in a place where you're like, I am really unhappy while I'm working, it doesn't mean just quit your job and not have any money. No, but I would inspire people, just like from your personal position, or where you said you weren't happy in marriage, or in my position, I wasn't happy in my corporate job anymore, of really take the time and do some self-discovery, because there are options out there for
Yeah,
you.
that's what I was going to ask you. So
Yeah.
if someone is dealing with unhappiness, whether it's general unhappiness, and obviously we're not talking about someone who's dealing with mental health issues of depression, and those are, chemical issues in the
Right.
body. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a dissatisfaction with
Right.
your life.
Yeah, they're not content.
Right. What are some tips that you would share with them to kind of find their path to happiness or contentment?
Yeah. Yeah. Such a great question. So the first step is acknowledging where you are and being very honest with yourself. And I would advise, talking to someone, whether that be a friend, whether that be family member. In my case, I actually hired a life/business coach to actually support me in understanding what was going on, and how I could make changes and everything. But, give yourself compassion of where you are. It's okay that you're there, and then find support to help you, because it's very difficult to make changes and to have insight and to hold yourself accountable alone. It really, really is, as a human. So like I said, if it's a friend, family member, you hire someone, whatever. So that would be the first step. I'm a huge fan of journaling. So in addition to talking about what you're going through, journal about what you're going through. And I'm a certified coach. So I do work with people one-on-one. It's not a lot of what I do. I used to do it a lot more, but in this coaching partnership, the starting place is, okay, you're here now. What is everything that's going on in your present life, in your family, health and wellness, with your work, with your spirituality, maybe with your kids, all the different aspects of life, friendship, your social life, etc. Like, let's get really clear. This is your present life. And where are you satisfied? Where are you dissatisfied? And then let's imagine it's 12 months from now. It's February of 2022. Where would you like to be? Like, if you dream, think big, take a magic wand. Where do you want, what would you like to change? How do you want to feel? That's the key. How do you want to feel? And really talk about that. Get really, really clear on that. And okay, I'm here and I want to be here. This is the gap. Right? This is the gap. And it's not like overnight you can do it, but then it's about thinking through what actions and what mindset and, and support and everything do you then start taking. And in my work, I use the science of happiness, because it's all these proven tools that are available for people to increase happiness. But that's the journey that has worked for me. That's the journey that I've used to, help other clients. But the really important part is know that you're never stuck. Even when you feel like you're stuck, you're not. Yes, you're feeling stuckness right now, and that's okay, but you're not ever, nothing stays the same forever. and that by taking action, you can make really, really positive changes in your life.
Yeah, I that's this theory I completely subscribe to. I do something very similar. I always kind of have in my mind an image of myself as what I would consider the best version of myself.
Hmm.
And that's personal, right? Everybody, that's a
Mhm.
different thing. And I just try to, even on the worst days, I try to make sure I did one thing that day that gets me closer to that version of myself. It could be just getting outside and taking a walk or journaling, like you said, or working on business stuff, or I don't know, it could be anything that I feel just gets me, even if I move only an inch, it's better than not moving at all.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
adds up, like you're saying, a year from now, those little wins will add up to something big.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes we want these big, grandiose, huge accomplishments, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier with the goals. And there's so much success in the baby steps, in the little tiny actions. And then, we perceive ourselves just like the way that we perceive other people. We watch ourselves and we have a perception of ourselves. So when you journal, or if you do a 10-minute walk, or if you reach out to a client, a small step with your business, you then start perceiving yourself in a more positive way, then it just kind of builds on it. And I would say tied into that along the way is self-compassion and self-love for where you are today also.
I think that's so important. We have
Yeah.
to figure out a way to be content with, we have to meet ourselves where we're at. And we
Yeah.
have to be content with that, because like I said before, so I know so many people who have said, when I lose 100 pounds, then I'll do all the things I want to do and I'll be happy. And then they do, and they realize, they're the same person. They didn't change in personalities. They're the same person. They have the same issues that they had before. They might look different on the outside, but they're the same. Or they're going, oh, I'm guilty of this. I used to think, oh my gosh, like once I drive that kind of car or I have that kind of bag, then I'm suddenly going to become like this more confident, more put together person. It doesn't work like that.
No.
Like
Yeah.
that didn't work at all. So yeah, I think it's a combination of making improvements, and I agree with you. That was very valuable information. Making improvements, but also being happy in the space that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that I've um realized because I've always been quite confident in my career part of my life, and even in, I will say, like romantic relationships. But what has challenged me more than anything, and my kids are younger than yours, I have two daughters that are 5 and 7, is low confidence when it comes to parenting, and that's for a lot of different reasons. And I've really realized it's like, I need the way I talk to myself, the way the perception of, okay, you don't do everything perfect. I don't think any parent does anything perfect, but I'm really, really hard on myself when it comes to parenting for many reasons. And I've realized it makes me less happy, and that self-compassion. So I think in some areas of life we can feel good about ourselves, but then we talk really badly to ourselves in another area. And it's, just giving yourself that grace.
Yeah. And I think parents, it makes things so complicated, because I mean, I've had one of my children struggled with addiction for 10 years. And I can tell you that you're ever only as happy as your most unhappy child.
Yeah.
So when your children are going through things, like it's so impacts every moment of your life and how happy you allow yourself to be.
Yeah.
But honestly, when it comes to parenting, like none of us know what the heck we're doing. We're all faking it. We're all just doing our best, loving them fiercely, hoping that's enough, right? That's all we can do. They don't come with handbooks, as my father used to say. You didn't come with a handbook. So
no, and we do our best based on our childhood, the way we were parented and what you
and there is no right answer. I mean, there are a million different ways to do things, and none of them is right. So we just have to,
it's right. Yeah.
Yeah. We just love them and put them first and hope that, it all works out. Cause that's all that we can do. That's the only things that are like for sure the right thing.
Yeah.
Everything else is just different choices, different parenting styles.
No, you're so right. There's a A book that I read recently, I like always am reading and devouring books. There's one book that I read recently called A Radical Awakening by Dr. Shafali. I don't know if you've
Oh,
heard of.
wow. No, but I'm going to write that down.
Oh, it's super, super, it's fantastic. And she's written parenting books, and she's divorced and she's a single mom. I don't know if she might be in a relationship. Anyway, but one of the big, and she's a therapist and she works pretty much with women. She's been working with women for like 25 years. And a resounding message in this book is that we as parents cannot expect our kids to be happy all the time. And we need to, most people say, she says, like, if someone's like, what do you want for your kids? You're like, oh, I want them to be successful and happy. Right. And so, and I'm obviously a happiness expert. So that, and it made me sit back and think, it's like, we need to be comfortable with their unhappiness, just like sometimes we're unhappy, that we need to allow them, and we need to, be these role models of, and sometimes you're unhappy.
Right. And unhappiness is often a really good indicator for change, and a part of the process of learning lessons, and making mistakes and having regrets is part of learning lessons for all of us. Adult, child, doesn't matter. So sometimes the unhappiness is a moment where you can kind of cue in and think, let's examine my percentage of responsibility for this situation, or let's examine why I'm feeling these feelings. Because life is the best teacher of all, right?
Totally. No, that those painful emotions, whether it be fear or anger, stress, anxiety, guilt, all of it, there's like 70 different painful emotions, that it's information, right? Yeah. Life is telling you something. And you can choose to ignore it or block it out with unhealthy coping mechanisms, like, I don't know, drinking too much or all these other things. Or you can actually get to that uncomfortable space and look at it honestly, of like, what's my part and what's going on in life
Well, and it also kind of changes your perspective to be able to say, this terrible thing happened to me, but thank you for the lesson, universe. Like, you can look at it with a positive spin on it still, and say that you got something out of it, even if it was pain. You learned a lesson.
Great saying. Thank you for the lesson, universe. Yeah. There's this British guy who I connected with recently, and he had this awesome saying. It was him and his wife, that when a really negative event happens in their life, car accident, or, just different in their business or whatever, like, things happen that you don't want to happen. What they say to each other, and they say it out loud, is they say, something amazing is going to come from this. So it's like already expecting that from this negative event, like you said, there's going to be a lesson, or there's, in their mind, it's like, there's a blessing that's going to come. And I was like, ooh, I love that. Cause it doesn't, for one, it makes you think, okay, it's not this, we're not going to be here forever. Something's going to happen after this,
Right. And just like happiness, isn't a constant state. Unhappiness isn't either. So when you feel, that those feelings of disappointment or unhappiness or whatever, you can feel them and process them and let them go, just like you can happiness. Cause you might feel completely differently the next day. It's not static. It's constantly fluid.
Yeah. It's constantly changing. Absolutely. And know that even though like your genetics contribute and your life circumstances contribute to how you're feeling, so much of how we are feeling and how we are experiencing life is based on our daily choices, So if you choose to walk, if you choose to journal, if you choose to meditate, if you choose to get enough sleep, if you choose to have a gratitude practice, if you choose to spend time in Mother Nature, if you, choose to help others, and this list is so long of all these choices that can help you increase your happiness and well-being, you remind yourself, like, I am in the driver's seat. Like,
it does give you that sense of control, and that feels really nice. So even if I'm muttering to my husband, I'm going to take a stupid walk for my stupid mental health. Once I'm out there, I'm like, okay, I did something for I did something to impact my day. Like I took action, and action is so important when you feel stuck. So yeah.
It's so important. And I sometimes I'm sitting there, it's like my kids are to bed and I'm like, okay, it's 9:45. I really would love to stay up and watch 2 hours of Netflix by myself. Like I would love to do that. But then I'm like, but if I do that, tomorrow I'm tired. Tomorrow I'm going to be grumpy. So I'm like, that's the boring option, but I'm going to go to bed because I know tomorrow I'm going to be happier. So it's like also thinking about the short-term pleasure,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
doesn't always equate to that feeling of contentment and that feeling of well-being. So you have to like parent yourself and say, no, go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. We have to think a long term sometimes, not all the time. I
Yeah.
mean,
No,
yeah.
not all the time. You got to have,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So tell people, anyone listening and our readers, like how can they get in touch with you if they want to learn more? I know you have a book. I see it behind you. That's so cool. That's so exciting, honestly. Is that available for order? Like give us all the details.
Yes, yes. So my brand new book, it just came out last month. It's called Be a Happy Leader.
That's so exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. The subtitle, Stop Feeling Overwhelmed, Thrive Personally, and Achieve Killer Business Results. So the book is available paperback, ebook, or audiobook, wherever you buy your books. So
Okay.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Bookshop, in bookstores, etc. People can learn more about me and my company on my website. It's arriveathappy.com. And the book is there and all the different ways that how I work with organizations. And then I'm really active on LinkedIn. So Tia Graham on LinkedIn and also on Instagram. It's Arrive at Happy on Instagram. And I have also a weekly YouTube channel as well. It comes out every Friday. So if you could do Tia Graham Arrive at Happy on YouTube, available there. And for anyone that wants to do, I have this it's a new free challenge. So if you go to happyleaderchallenge.com, there's 4 short videos where people will learn from me, be inspired to get tactics. And I'm basically giving them different challenges in each video. So if anyone wants, they can go check that out too.
Oh, I'm going to definitely check that out. So I'm going to link everything that you said in the show notes of the YouTube. This will be up on YouTube of the video, as well as on the article, just so people can easily click right to you.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot. So once you buy the book, if you go to the book website, go to arriveathappy.com, or if you go to happyleaderbook.com and you put in your name and the order number, you get 3 bonuses. There's a workbook that comes with the book. There's a 1-hour course, and there's also a resource kit with TED Talks I recommend, podcasts, and everything. So there's 3 bonuses that come with the book.
That's great. Yeah. What a nice thing. Okay. Well, thank you again so much. It was so nice chatting with you. I feel like I was just chatting with a girlfriend.
I know, me too.
I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be in touch. If we have more questions for the article, I'll definitely be in touch, but we're going to link everything. And I'm really excited to share your message with our readers.
Yeah, please share it with me and I'll share it with my communities as well.
I definitely will. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye.